All right, so looking at boys and stress now. So girls report higher subjective levels of stress, perceived stress, but actually also the study like Osberg's showed that they have higher stress. So in terms of physiological cortisol levels, but actually boys and men have higher acute responses to stress, and that's what we're looking at here. There's a quiz to play. Bit of a hook. Why do women live longer than men? And we can actually, this video here is pure just comedy. It's just men doing silly stuff that's almost going to kill them. All right, so that's what we're looking at. Something you can introduce is the idea that men are more at risk for heart disease. So when we talk about prevalence rates, CVD is more prevalent in men, and they're more at risk. I originally wrote this chapter with stress and cardiovascular disease in mind. I had a whole first edition which was all linking stress to cardiovascular disease. Then I wrote the revision book, and I realized that nowhere in the revision book does really, cardiovascular disease was going way above and beyond actually the content requirements. So I took it out. I rewrote the whole chapter, and I took all the CVD stuff out because I felt like it was going to detract from the primary lessons in the chapter. So it's valuable, but I mean, cardiovascular disease develops in your 50s. For students right now, it's probably not as relevant as just understanding, for example, how to deal with academic stress and how to deal with stresses right now. I apologize for all this background noise. Okay, so now we can do a replication here. This is a fun one. It's like the TSST, but it's the Iowa Singing Social Stress Test. So you could find a karaoke version, and like you might want to tell students, all right, they can choose a song and just get a karaoke version, and then they have to sing while people are, basically like America's Got Talent, right? Where you got people doing the negative feedback. Again, just fun, but also introduce them to the methodology used in this particular study. So in this one, so they did this is the comparison between males and females, and they found that men had higher acute stress responses. And I think, no, there's another study the study by Knight et al. So this is looking at why, and it's because of testosterone. And so if you teach the criminology unit, you'll know testosterone increases the amygdala in response to threat. And this is also showing testosterone can increase the physiological response to stress as well, particularly if you are a high trait dominance, if you're high in trait dominance as a male. Okay. Now, last slide here about prevalence rates, and I've talked about this a lot in the tips, and there's a blog post on it and the example essays, but essentially it is impossible to talk about prevalence rates as a percentage for stress because we have no objective diagnosis. Really valuable to students to know this, because it can be really good discussion material in their essays on prevalence. All right, so hopefully we can look at why there are gender differences in the physiological stress response. The answer is because of hormones. And then if you like, students can finish just by going back and looking at the terminology and reviewing that. But yeah, anyway, so we're looking there at gender differences in stress, and then we'll look at academic stress in the next lesson.